just pin the bottom leg because I can't get my hand back underneath that bottom leg. The defense is, that's required on the defense to protect my arm. So if it can't get back in there, he can still start all this attacking sequences, and I'm left in a bad position. Let's take a look at, we're gonna look at a very basic drill to make sure that we have elbow connection on our bottom elbow, and it's gonna play, this is gonna play a very important role to counter when someone sits through to face your head, so they sit through facing forward. So if Nick's on this side of you, buddy, we talk about the importance of this right elbow on this bottom hip. And this is it's a nice basic drill that you can do with your training partner, is that when you connect, he gets tight cross-side, connected, and then he just sits forward. He sits through really quickly forward. So he sits his hip to the mat, and I keep my elbow connected onto that hip. And my hand stays connected to his body. And then he sits back through just a normal cross-side, and I keep it connected. He does it again. I keep it connected. He does it again. I keep it connected. This is a very important drill that has a lot of practical application. Let's see how it does, how it will help us in cross-side escaping scenario. So when we're here on cross-side and someone sits through forward facing, he sits through, yep, and he's trying to pull our elbow out. This will be very difficult for Nick to pull my elbow out if my elbow is active and it's found his bottom hip. So we've got a lot of pressure there. If I dominate this lead hip, if he goes back to cross side for me, if I dominate and push away on the lead hip in this scenario, when he sits through, look what happens. My arm actually ends up way out of position. And now I've got some problems because I've got his rib against mine, his hip is driving into my body, and it's gonna be hard for me to get this right arm back into a scenario that I can use successfully. So we have the elbow on the bottom hip, we're ready to go. I begin my move to get out, and he sits through to face forward, okay? Yep. Now, here's what we need to do now. I've got my elbow at the hip. My hands stay attached to his body. So that's very important. My right knee now, the one that's back down by my elbow, is gonna go down to his hip. So it's gonna go down just above the ground. Okay? It's not gonna go to the floor, but just above the ground onto his bottom hip. So if we rotate around, this right knee goes down right to the bottom hip. It's not on the ground, it's right above the hip. And I need an active foot. So my right foot is very active. My left leg is ready to bridge. What we're going to do is I'm gonna bridge with my left leg, and I'm gonna knee or push Nick forward with my right leg. It's gonna lift his hip off the mat. The reason why it's lifting his hip off the mat is because my right elbow is like a wedge. So it wedges his hip right up off the floor, and then I'm gonna drop him onto my leg, okay? So this is important that we lift him off the floor, and then my right leg slides underneath, and I drop him, sits down. Now, here's what we'll do now. We make sure, this is where it's very important that the hands stay attached to his body. Because after I've got him dropped onto my knee, my hands stay attached to the body. We'll use a crowbar. My right foot goes on the mat, and I begin to crowbar my legs. Now, it is not very often that you'll get this sweep to happen. I'm gonna show you what could happen. This is only gonna happen if someone doesn't have a lot of experience here. They stay very tight. It usually doesn't happen as you guys grow in experience level, but this could happen. And if it does, great for you. It's really a nice, easy way to reverse top and bottom. As I carry him over, he just gets literally carried right over to the bottom of the cross side. I adjust, and we end up across his side. That doesn't happen very often. What's most likely to happen is that once we start to elevate him with the crowbar, Nick will just switch his hips, and he's going to end up in some sort of guard. It might be, most of the time it's closed guard. It may be open like a butterfly guard, a half guard, but most of the time it'll be closed. So again, I push him up, I bring my knee, I push Nick up and I bring my knee underneath his body, right? Once it's underneath the body, I begin the crowbar, and then that's when he sits through. There it is, and we put him in the close guard. Most of the time, this is gonna be the result that will happen is once you start the crowbar with your arms attached, they feel that they're gonna be swept. He just squares his hips up to make sure that his hips face the floor, but that leaves a lot of room. So we'll go in I'll keep it really slow so that we can see this again. So again, I bump him forward and then I drive my knee underneath like a wedge. As we go with the crowbar, you see what happens. There's nothing blocking my right leg right now. So when he begins to sit through, if I just open up my right leg, he ends up in my close guard. Very, very productive way to hit, to go from this position to close guard. Now, if I'm able to catch him, again, this becomes less and less likely as he becomes better and better with his balance. When you are crowbarring, if you're able to use your right foot to catch this leg, as he begins to sit his hip through, if I could catch that leg, you may be able to continue to lift and use your butterfly hook to sweep. But again, it's not very likely. It's not an exceptionally strong butterfly hook in the position that you're in, but hey, it could happen. The most important thing is that we wedge that knee under the hip by using a push. So we're going to be bridging and a push, and then we're going to drop this knee underneath, and then this is the crowbar movement. That right foot's on the mat. That's the crowbar movement that I'm talking about. He'll switch his hips and we return to guard, no problemo. So again, this is a very, very strong counter to when someone switches their hips and faces forward. So let's take a look at it one more time. I've got my elbow position, I'm working on my escape, and then he sits through. But because we've got very good at the drill, I kept that active elbow. We bump him forward, wedge the knee underneath, and then crowbar, he switches his hips, and we end up in the close guard. Okay, so we've been discussing head and arm cross-side, a perpendicular position. Nick has his legs right here beside my body. The importance of the bottom hip with my elbow. But when is the top hip important? It's very important after we win the bottom hip, of course, then we move to the top hip. But if he is moved down by my legs, then we can go after the top hip right away. We don't need to try to look for the bottom hip. If he's got a head and arm grip, but his legs are down by my legs, we'll show that right now, then I don't need the bottom hip. So he's moved down here. He's either trying to run my legs over or he's just past my guard, and we're in this type of scenario. Now this near hip, this top hip, that's the one we're gonna want now. I don't need to try to look for my elbow underneath there. We can afford to push on the bottom hip. Now, your left hand, it's up to you. You can keep it on the shoulder when he's here, but you have to keep in mind and remember that if Nick's left arm goes to the opposite side of my head and I don't move my left arm, then I may get into some trouble if I don't return to my guard. But so I'm gonna keep it in the armpit. I really prefer it in the armpit, even until we know our knees are inside, or as a wedge, then I can take it out, but I prefer it in here. Anyway, our hand is on the near hip. Now it's just a simple method of hip escaping. If he doesn't do anything, then we can move our legs away, we bridge, we get a good extension of that arm.